the enabling of Israel continues with the wing of the Democratic Party that is supposed to represent the left. This is AOC, one of the most notorious AOC tweets. And I just keep losing track of everything she does. That's pathetic from years ago. But she voted against Marjorie Taylor. I mean, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene is taking up the mantle of cutting off aid to Israel, cutting off the most important piece of aid, which is the Iron Dome. We footed the bill for the Iron Dome. The whole point of the Iron Dome is that Israel doesn't have to do diplomacy vis-a-vis Gaza. It can just conduct a one-way slaughter because it weakens any deterrence that Gaza had. And she claims that MTG's amendment does nothing to cut off offensive aid to Israel, nor end the flow of U.S. munitions being used in Gaza. Of course I voted against it. What do you mean, of course? What it does is cut off defensive Iron Dome capacities while allowing the actual bombs killing Palestinians to continue. No, it doesn't allow the actual bombs killing Palestinians to continue. She wasn't voting for more offensive weapons. It was just cutting off $500 million for the Iron Dome, which would have just shut down the genocide. And AOC voted for it because she has ambitions beyond being what she is.
Exactly. She wants to be able to say one day when she runs for Senate or president, you know, I've never opposed defensive assistance to Israel. In fact, I voted against cutting funding for the Iron Dome. That's what this is about. It's just an amazingly incoherent statement. On the one hand, the last sentence, she says, you know, I'm focused on the munitions that are being used to perpetuate the genocide in Gaza. But then she also says, I don't support cutting defensive aid to Israel. So you want a country that you recognize as committing genocide to have defensive aid? Like, why would you support giving a country that you recognize as committing genocide to have anything, no matter what you think the Iron Dome is for? You want a genocidal country to have defensive capacities, which means it can defend itself as it commits genocide. It's completely incoherent. And Caitlin Johnston had a great response at the bottom. I didn't give the mass shooter guns and ammunition. I just bought him a bulletproof vest so nobody could stop the massacre.
Yeah, I mean,
that's AOC's, really... and then of course she doubled down on it when people called her out for it. She doubled down and she basically accused even her colleagues who voted with Marjorie Taylor Greene of being in league with neo-Nazis. People like Ilhan Omar, who said, like, Ilhan Omar said, you know, there's no distinction between offensive and defensive military assistance to Israel. But AOC wants to pretend that there is some kind of distinction.
Drag me for my positions all you want, but lying about them doesn't make you part of the left, AOC says. If you believe neo-Nazis are welcome and operating in good faith, you can have them. So Al Green voted with Marjorie Taylor Greene. So Al Green is actually much closer to the civil rights movement than AOC was. And she's saying that he's in league with neo-Nazis here.
And by the way, AOC does believe neo-Nazis are operating in good faith because she's voted multiple times to arm groups like the Azov Battalion, which are neo-Nazi inside Ukraine. Every single time Joe Biden asked for tens of billions of dollars, AOC and everybody else in the squad and Democrats voted yes. So she can't even claim to oppose neo-Nazis.
But she's also calling Marjorie Taylor Greene a neo-Nazi is like, I know Marjorie Taylor Greene says horrible stuff about her, but it just, it doesn't work. And it's a stand-in for more creative insults. Like, that's another thing with the squad. They can't really, they don't really have a very diverse arsenal of insults. What we in DC would call joning, they don't do that. The right just has they just have the better insults. They have the better Jones. But I mean, she's looking more and more pathetic. Then she goes over to Blue Sky, the liberal site that was set up so liberals could have like a safe space away from the quote unquote neo-Nazis, where she rants even more. It's discrediting. It doesn't meet the moment. It doesn't meet the outrage of the moment where we're just seeing children shredded day after day. There's this horrible video of 9 children who were kidnapped by the Israeli army, ages 15 to 17, and tortured for 2 weeks straight, who just got out. The interviews with them are just horrible. And AOC is like, well, I don't think that Israel should have certain munitions, but other things might be appropriate because I plan to run for Senate and Chuck Schumer will let me potentially have his seat. That's what this is about.